A group of Aussie scientists have reignited the vaccination debate. They're calling for the federal government to crack down on tax breaks for parents who refuse to give their kids the jab. As it stands, parents who register as anti-vaxxers can still get a payout of $2,100 over 3 years. Caroline Overington from the Australian Women's Weekly agrees it should be scrapped. She joins us now with Professor Booy from Westmead Children's Hospital. Welcome to you both. So, Caroline, giving a tax benefit to these parents, you think this is just socially irresponsible?
I'd go further than that, David. I wouldn't let the children go to school.
Right. So you're going to take the money away from them
I would say if your children are not immunised, then you are not entitled to go to kindergarten and you're not entitled to go to school. Because if you think about it, what these parents are doing, and you know the kind of parents we're talking about. We're talking about the kind of parents who think that they're the first in the world to ever have a baby, who want to be a little bit hip about it, who don't want to run with the pack, who want to carry their baby around in sort of that calico sling and have bone juice for breakfast and do all of that, and they don't want to immunise their kids. Well, if you're not going to immunise your kids...
I think that's a really easy thing, because I think this is spreading further now. It's spreading to eastern suburbs of Sydney. It's spreading to more affluent societies. Well, we can't just put the Byron Bayers and the hippies into this.
Exactly. It's spreading to those areas of the community, like Byron Bay and Bondi and all those hipster areas, where people think they're a little bit smarter than you and I, right? Yeah. But you're not smarter than the eradication of polio. That was really clever.
That was awesome.
That was awesome,
That was
actually.
really rocking.
And if you want to put your children in my school and put an enormous amount of children at risk, then I don't think you can be there. And that is the situation in many states in the US right now. If you are not immunised, you don't get to go to school. So never mind tax breaks, I wouldn't allow them in the kindergartens. OK, well, let me bring you in on this, Robert. You are a paediatrician, you're a specialist in infectious diseases. You're very much pro-vaccination, but you don't think scrapping the payout is the answer.
I think that if we spend time listening to parents, listening to their concerns and then giving them answers to their questions and then going to into the depths of the value of vaccination, you can convince far and away the great majority. Now, if we were to...
But we're not talking about the great majority.
No,
here.
There's only 2% who totally don't get vaccinated, but there's another 15% who are hesitant, who need our time and who need our attention so that they will get their children vaccinated. We don't want to create people who are radicalised and against vaccination by making them do it. Let me give you two thoughts here. One is that this tax benefit is for families and for children. So if we take it away, it's the children who will suffer, and that's not right. Furthermore, if you work by analogy, so pensioners who don't get their flu jab should also not get their pension or something similar. It's just not right. We're a kinder society than that. We can convince people with argument. We don't need to compel them.
I appreciate you saying that, but a lot of these people are going to Dr. Google, they're going to the web, and you know that's not always telling us the truth. That's taking us to very dark places. It can take us to very misinformed places where then they lock in this information and then they start to spread it throughout the community. Now, what Caroline is sort of bringing to the table here, and I want to ask you about this, you know, you say you want to rationalise with these people, but it can be dangerous.
Absolutely. There are areas where 25% of children aren't vaccinated. That means that measles can come back. That means that children can get encephalitis and even die. So that's really not good enough. We need to do better. It's a real worry. My concern is that we need to really spend time with families. If you could just repeat the last part of your question.
No, what I'm saying is that, you know, these people are coming through, here, these families, I agree with Caroline, they're probably right. They probably are concerned. I agree with you. They are wanting to go out and get information. That's what we think the internet is for.
I don't think that
but a lot of them are locking in the wrong information.
What they're doing is they're taking information that suits them. A lot of them will tell you things, ridiculous things, like if you get vaccinated, it causes autism. The only person saying that is Jenny McCarthy, who last time I checked was a soft porn star.
She's also on The View. She's more powerful than ever now.
If you are taking your health information from a soft porn star as opposed to, for example, an eminent paediatrician, then I think you should be compelled to take care of your children in order that the rest of us not suffer.
Robert, can I ask you, if someone comes to you and says, look, I just don't believe this, vaccination's called autism, I'm not going to vaccinate my child, talk me out of this. What are you going to tell me?
I've spent the last 15 years on that problem. We wrote to The Lancet immediately that the paper was published in the UK when I was working there. It is rubbish science. And what we need to do is to teach kids at school, at high school, what quality science is, how to actually look at a piece of material and say, is that logical? Is that scientific? And we've got to start in the schools, and that's really my
but I read it on the internet,
argument.
Robert. I mean, how are you going to convince me that I'm not going to go and I don't want to get my kids vaccinated? It's dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely.
I watch The View every day.
People read things on the internet. In my own family, they read things on the internet and they can be convinced by that. We need to step back and say there's more to argument, there's more to logic than the internet, and you need to be a lot more guarded about how you take information in. There's only a limited amount of quality information out there, and you need to find it.
You say only 2% of the population are, doing this at the moment. If that starts to grow, what happens to everybody else?
The real risk is that diseases can come back. We can get pockets of increased risk. Measles is a very good example. Even polio has come back to Syria because they've had war and children aren't being vaccinated.
Right.
So all sorts of diseases can come back. We've eliminated polio, measles, we've eradicated smallpox. So we're really on the wagon to the best health we've ever had. We've got the safest vaccines we've ever had.
Does it cause autism?
Absolutely not.
It's a vanity project, that's what it is, David. It's people just wanting to be a little bit smarter and more individual than everybody else, and it is outrageous what they are doing to our health. If you have ever seen a small baby, 3 or 4 weeks old, with whooping cough, struggling for breath, struggling to survive, it really is the most awful thing. And if you want to do that to your own children, I think you need to look very deeply inside yourself as to why you're having them. But if you want to do it to my children, then I think the government has a role to play.
All right, well, look, thank you both for coming in. Robert, great to meet you at last, and thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge on this. Thanks, Caroline. Now, we want to know what you think at home. Is it fair that parents who choose not to vaccinate should be getting a payout? And do you agree with Caroline? Should we ostracise those children from our schools? It's a topic that parents have a strong opinion on. Go to our Facebook or go to our Twitter.